Anytime you subsidize consumption or artificially create consumption, workers have to pay for that extra production. There's no other way around it. So I mean, it's always everything. There's no free lunch. There's certainly no free food stamp. So there's no way you can argue that it's a free program. All it does is it's good for the economy. No, I'm sorry, it's not good for workers.
So how much of a social safety net are you willing to throw out there, Gary? Like, what's your limit, like generally speaking?
Well, I'm pretty liberal when it comes to some sort of legitimate disability, but I'm just saying that you're not entitled to a great life. You're entitled to a minimum life. So, I mean, what do you want me to say? How much should a person have to live on? I mean, it really depends on what you're paying for things, right? I mean, obviously it's bad that people have to live in slums. I mean, I'd almost argue that they have a right to live in a better neighborhood more than they have a right to food stamps. So I would have maybe a more liberal obligation to create, subsidized housing in more locations. I just think there's better ways to spend welfare money than to spend it to subsidize bad behavior. And I'm just saying there's a lot of bad behavior, and I guess I'd have a connection between if you want more, then you do something. I don't care what it is, but you do something constructive. All right, you clean your fucking house. I put some sort of rules on it. I mean, these people expect to get it and give nothing for it. So I guess I'd tie some strings to it. Like, you have to do certain hoops you have to jump through to get your benefits.
Yeah, but Gary, I mean, you're right in everything you say. It's the logic is unimpeachable. But I mean, don't you think that the people who are distributing this largesse, that they thought this through? That the reason they're handing out all these SNAP cards and benefits is because they don't want a large section of the population out of money, broke and hungry on the streets because of for one thing, the civil unrest that would inevitably result?
Well, first off, I guess I would say that I think the largesse has gotten a little too large. So I guess part of me would say that there's a little too much discretionary income in the sense that, why should my neighbors have a dog, a big dog? I mean, why? You shouldn't have a dog on welfare. And there's a ton of pit bulls and all kinds of dogs in all these shitty neighborhoods. They got these crazy, insane dogs living in these slums. Why should that be part of what a welfare subsidy?
I mean, no argument there.
I mean, I'm just saying that I'm not against the welfare state in that sense. But I mean, I'm just saying that we have to use this like a carrot thing. And the idea is you got to create this as like a positive incentive, and you get more if you do more. So I'm just saying you got to encourage people to get out of the trouble they're in, not to get into more trouble. And the way it is now, we basically pay them to get into more trouble. Have another illegitimate child that will give you more money. I mean, I know you need to take care of the kids, but there's got to be a disincentive for doing that. You have to create a disincentive.
Preaching to the choir, but I mean...
Well, having kids around, that in itself is be a disincentive. I don't know what these people's problem is.
Well, I mean, obviously it's not a disincentive, because having kids around doesn't mean anything to these crack whores, and you know it. They don't take care of these kids. They don't feel any...
It's weird, because even if you don't properly take care of kids, they seem like a pain. I mean,
that's why their kids are all dropouts and bums. Go look at the dropout rate in Chicago. You think any of these parents give a fuck about their kids?
Pyrrho, I know you pay your taxes, and therefore I'm sure you're familiar with the, income tax credit for each child you have, but that also, that applies to everybody who is either on public assistance, illegal aliens, yes, believe it or not, they do pay taxes, and they get a lot of it back, and the reason is because of that income tax credit. You know about that, right?
That is so unfair, that those illegal aliens, they should not get benefits or be able to pay taxes or, oh my God, that's so unfair the way that they just go around paying taxes. They're not even citizens.
You're not familiar with what I'm talking about how that...
No, I am. I think they ought to have benefits. They fucking live here. What do you really need to be part of our society besides working for some motherfucking asshole boss in the United States to get, to be just, it's like, they shouldn't get benefits. Why shouldn't they get benefits? They're fucking working.
Yeah, well, I'm saying,
right,
I was speaking to Gary's point about where the benefits kick in for having kids that you can't afford to care for or
right,
feed.
but the illegal immigrants that are working are not the problem. He's talking about people that don't work at all, which is true. Sadly, there is a culture of people that just live off these benefits that could otherwise make a living.
Okay,
that's the problem. But guess what? It's not Mexicans are not at the root of that.
Okay, maybe I was making the tent a little too big.
that a lot of illegals have acquired the bad habits of the ugly American in America, and they have picked up the same habits. So I'm just saying that until we create a system, I'm not too worried that the current system be destroyed, because it's a bad system and we need a better system.
Well, supposedly a lot of the people that are taking benefits actually are working almost full time, but also employers now are cutting back and having a lot more part-time work, because now they got to provide health care if it's over 40 hours a week. So there's just a lack of decent jobs for these poor people too. I mean, they really.
You knew that when you were a kid, right? You knew that there was a huge responsibility to having a child. You didn't know it was some sort of joke. You just pop one out, you get a welfare check. You knew that was irresponsible. And you're fundamentally just denying the fact that these people don't make any of those connections whatsoever. Like I said, the people living next door are fucking retarded. Okay? They're fucking retarded. I mean, socially. All right? I mean, they know the capital of Wyoming, but yet they're pigs. They're disgusting. Their habits are grotesque. All right? And they had 3 fucking kids on the dole.
Well, there's this European idea that why shouldn't you design the dole so that it's actually okay with people if it's like, well, if that's how you want to live. I think you probably could design it that way, because I think there's plenty of people that don't want to live that way, and I'm not sure that you don't do it. It went on a hand in Europe. We've never really tried it, but
Pyrrho, you don't think
not to have kids, so we should just pay people not to have kids.
Well, if you can pay
well, I've always agreed with that. I think that would make more sense. Why not pay people to be single and not have kids? But I also like just better than that. Why not when you're born, the government puts some money, and then when you're 18, you get a stake in life. And then if you fuck it up, it's like, oh, well, you fucked it up.
I've already made videos suggesting somewhat similar to exactly that.
Right. No, I totally like your idea of paying kids to go to school, for example. It's a similar kind of idea.
Yeah, I'm just saying that that's the system we need, and this current system is just going to bankrupt the country. I mean, all we have now is people, you're either getting a government check or you're rich, and there's not going to be anything in between. Okay, there's going to be impossible to live on wages from the capitalists as servants and in the service economy, and the only other jobs are going to be government jobs or you're a rich man. So it's going to be 2 kinds of people. Somebody who works for the government.
How is that going to work with the people that can't actually make it? Even if the people that go, okay, I will be the doorman, and they can't make it anymore? I mean, in the old days, you were treated like shit, and you said, but I will be the doorman, and you can actually fucking make it. How's that going to work?
You want it both ways. You say we can import 4,000 million Mexicans to be doormen. There's not enough doors for all the Mexicans to stand next to.
That's the problem. No, that's the problem.
Why don't you have a make more door policy? Let's have a door policy. Let's make more door party. The make more door party. Because we need more doors.
Wait a second. You're in the East Coast. I think this is a different thing. And on the West Coast, when we import Mexicans, they pick grapes that we sell to people from New York. So it all works out great.
Yeah, well, here we have a ton of Mexicans, and they're driving wages into the toilet, okay, so nobody can get a job because the desperate Mexican will do it for $2 cheaper.
Right, because you want to clean a pool, and there's a Mexican that'll do it for a dime.
You pay
I understand the problem.
$10,000 to get a roof put on your goddamn house, and it leaks in 1 fucking year. That's how long your roof lasts. 1 fucking year, because the goddamn Mexican put the nails in upside down.
I know people should hire Portuguese, but whatever, they're ignorant.
Pyrrho, do you know how many carpenters and roofers and framers have been put out of work because of all the illegals that have come into California specifically, and the West Coast specifically?
Yeah,
your argument holds no water, man.
They destroyed the working
Well, it does if you're a libertarian and you think that people that are able to do a job that people will pay for should be able to do it, and maybe if they don't build to code, then there's a problem.
Pyrrho, I'm just saying that you can't have an open door policy, take in the refuse of the world without destroying your wage base.
We're the refuse of the world.
Both ways. You can't have it both ways is all I'm saying. Either you got to close that door, or no, you got to close that door. That's it. There's no other choice.
Just leave it open. You just leave it open. I'm sorry. If Mexicans want to come here and do all of that kind of labor, then that's what happens. And Americans can move to India and do all their labor. That's how it works.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay, we don't get to be like just the rich guy that hires everybody else for 300,000 years. If we had a century, that's it. Sorry, game over.
We're turning a first world country into a third world country. Brilliant.
I don't want to become...
Well, it's inevitable. It's inevitable. How's a first world country going to stay first world? Is that how it worked for Rome? Is that how it worked for Italy? Look, after being a first world country, you get to be a third world country. Welcome to the show.
The perfect recipe for a totally fucked game. Way to go. Brilliant.
Well, empires don't last forever. That's just a lesson in history right there.
And then we can all live in Bosnia. Right, no empires, just a bunch of poor, pitiful, useless countries full of dumb, ignorant jackasses that subsidized morons. Yay, let's subsidize more.
What countries don't fit that description? Bhutan?
Go, idiocracy. Yay for the idiocracy. Yay. Let's become stupider and dumber on purpose.
What I think we should do is make a union with Canada and Mexico, and we should call it America, and we should make that work.
Country. Canada does not have people in it. It has trees in it. Okay, you can't count trees as citizens. Canada is not anywhere close to the real.
Mexico. Then we pull in Mexico. We got shitloads of. We just fracked the hell out of Canada. Fuck them. We stopped doing it in New Jersey, and we'll be set, man. We'll be able to survive until the oil runs out. We don't need anybody else. Go isolationist. Go ahead and build big giant castle walls on the borders.
To France, and I'll go work in the Modern Mystics Garden. Fuck you people. That's right.
No, I think that's a good idea too, but think about this. If we annex Mexico, the wall we have to build between us and South America, much fucking shorter. It's going to save us so much money that conquering Mexico will totally pay for itself.
Yes, we have what's called the Social Security number, and we ought to goddamn use them. They ought to actually mean something. And so if you don't belong in this fucking country, you shouldn't be working in this fucking country.
I want to be not working in this fucking country. God damn this fucking country. Well, good point about this fucking country.
Well, I'm just saying, I don't think you're the solution. I'm thinking you're the fucking goddamn cancer. Paramecium infestation.
How am I the cancer? I am the solution. No, the problem, the cancer is that we're spending $57 billion a year doing secret projects, and we can't even repair New Orleans or Detroit. That's the fucking cancer, Gary.
We should be repairing New Orleans. That's like about as, let's see if we can be imbecile.
Gary, you know what? Be serious for a second. What could we do with $57 billion? Gary, do you really think we should spend... Do you really think we should spend $57 billion on clandestine black ops, and that we couldn't spend that better on your power system, which goes out several weeks a year?
What I'm suggesting is we shouldn't fucking fucking spend $56 million on sky submarines. Cloud submarines, yeah. I don't think we should be spending 15 cents on fucking New Orleans. Alright, New Orleans is going to be Atlantis any day now. Like 15 days from now, it's officially going to be Atlantis. So fuck New Orleans. It's not worth 15 fucking cents.
But the Black Ops, I'm asking you about the Black Ops. Are they worth $57 billion? Do you feel like you get your $57 billion worth?
Argument, you dumb fucking cunt. It's a straw man question. I'm not.
No, that's the real amount. Do you
Nobody
think
said that. Nobody's advocating that.
The obvious answer is no.
I'm asking for everybody to say no. You don't want to say no. It's not okay. What should we spend that on then?
No, as loudly as I can possibly say it, Pyrrho.
What should we spend it on? What should we spend it on? It's not a straw man. We spend 57 real billion. What should we spend it on instead?
Insane lunatic! Go ask your question to fucking Dick Cheney. Don't ask the question to me. I didn't vote for the military.
Here's my question to you, Gary. Here's my question to you. They have $57 billion. They're going to spend it on something. We agree that it shouldn't be spent on Black Ops. What do you spend $57 billion on?
To pay back the fucking debt!
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that we clean up the Superfund sites. I'm fine with almost anything but spending it on Black Ops.
$1 a year, Pyrrho. You got no way to pay any of that back. Even if you cut all the military spending, you're still $1 trillion plus in debt every fucking year. We're running a catastrophically unconstructive economy. It's a fake economy. You don't have any money to spend on anything. You've already spent way too much money. Way too much money. There's no way to pay the money back. What's going to be the solution? Someday it's going to hit the fan. What's going to be the solution? Do any of you people have the balls to take it from the rich? Because guess what?
What should we spend the money on in the meantime? I would rather you said what we should spend the money on. So we're going to spend the money anyway. What should it, hypothetically, and it's not going to happen, be spent on?
I just answered the fucking question. You're borrowing $2 trillion a year. Obviously, you shouldn't borrow $2 trillion a year.
Well, you're acting like skeptical heretic. I'm saying you say that we're going to have the money anyway. What should we spend it on? If we had $57 billion to spend, what should we spend it on that would do some good? Don't be skeptical heretic.
Abortions. There's my answer. We should spend it on fucking abortions.
Look, come on. That wouldn't take more than $10 billion.
All right, abortions and steamrollers.
How about we just rebuild the bridges, all the bridges? That would be $57 billion. Or $47 billion after the $10 billion worth of abortions, which is a good answer. We just rebuild all the fucked up bridges in the United States, the little ones, the big ones, all of them. That would take about $57 billion, and then it's next year.
Yeah, no, I think we ought to figure out a way to live without all this cars moving all over the place anyway. So I'm almost against rebuilding bridges. Let the bridges fall down so people don't have an excuse to waste money driving their cars someplace. Let them take...
Well, I agree with you. I think we could do that, but I've always thought that go to a more public, transportation and if you're going to have electric trains. But I'm starting to think that electric cars could work out. Electric cars that drove themselves, why couldn't that be a pretty clean and efficient way for people to... Maybe you don't own a car, it just comes and picks you up.
Electric cars are very ungreen, okay? They're ungreen. They're not green, okay? They're full of...
Well, why do you